Today, I am stepping a little bit out of my comfort zone, and maybe you will be too, in the book I'm going to show you, which is about improvisational quilting. Hi, I'm Kim Jamieson-Hirst of Chatterbox Quilts. Today I'm talking about Artful Improv by Cindy Grisdela. So in this particular book, she's talking about improvisational quilting. And if you're wondering what improvisational quilting actually is, well, when you open up the book near the beginning, she's going to tell you all about it. So what is improvisation? Because some people think it is just throwing fabrics together willy-nilly. That's not what it is. So she will go into detail telling you what her thoughts are on improvisational quilting, and actually she calls it controlled chaos, and I like that because that's sort of what it is. There's kind of a method to your madness when you're making improvisational quilts if you want them to be effective, and of course we all do. Now, there's lots of information in the front of this book about using your fabrics, getting organized, using your scraps, how to get them together and in a way so that you can easily use them in your improvisational project. And even though we think that, some people may think you're just throwing things together, like I said, there's thinking behind this. And so part of the thinking involves what colors are you going to use in your improvisational quilt project. And so we're going to go back and refer to the color wheel, of course, as we do for most of our quilts. So she talks about the color wheel. She actually tells you that she uses the Essential Color Wheel Companion by Joan Wolfram. I have that color wheel. It's a great color wheel. Has 24 different colors on it. And if you're interested in more details about that, check the description below because I have information about it for you there. It's made by C&T Publishing. So she's going to talk about, I should say, and you're going to choose a certain color scheme when you're working with your improv quilt, because you want to make sure that the end result is cohesive. Okay, again, it is not just throwing everything together. Everything but the kitchen sink, or maybe in this case, everything including the kitchen sink. That's not what improvisational quilting is all about. So you want to start with a color scheme. You want to pick your fabrics according to that so it's going to look good in the end, because there's a lot going on in improvisational quilts, right? She also talks about elements and principles of design. So continuing on with this thought of controlled chaos, she will tell you about looking at elements of design and considering that when putting your improv quilt project together. So lots of information about that, and she has lots of photos in the book as well, which I appreciate, so I know what she's talking about. Okay, so she's not just talking about design and focal points and this type of thing. She actually gives examples so that you can see what she means, right? So if you're a visual learner, there's lots of pictures for you in here. Okay, and then how do you actually put your blocks together? It's a lot different than traditional quilt blocks when we put them together. One of the biggest tools you're going to be using when you're putting an improvisational quilt together is a design wall. So you're going to have to take your blocks, you're going to have to put them up, you're going to move them around, you're going to let them sit, you're going to let them percolate for a bit. She calls it playing what if. What if I moved this here? What if I did this here? What if I added that block in or took that one away, or maybe even cut one in half? So it's playing with your blocks, with your improv blocks. And you have to kind of let them sit there for a while before you decide on the design. Now then she goes into different blocks. You can create different improvisational quilt blocks. And I looked at this book because I was looking for quilt blocks, because in my online membership, The Quilter's Way, 1 month we were working on improvisational quilting. And I went to this book. This is where I got the ideas for different blocks, 3 different blocks that my members learned how to make, and then they went off on their own to make their own individual projects. And it was really interesting because they had all these different ways they were arranging their blocks, and then other members could help them and say, I like this design, or have you considered doing this with it, and that type of thing. So there's a lot of thinking, you make the blocks with, and there's a lot of thinking as to how you actually are going to arrange them into that final quilt project. One of the blocks is called Angled Stripes, and you can make several blocks at one time with this technique, and you can see that they're all different angled pieces of fabric in there. You can use pieces of your scraps for this. It doesn't take a lot of fabric. Like you may have 6 different fabrics, but the pieces that you use don't have to be very large to come up with this particular block. And then she also always has quilts, and again, photos at the back showing you how she used that particular block in a project. So in this case, she's using these angled stripes in different projects. She also talks about improv circles. I know, Some of us don't like to make, have to sew together rounded pieces, but when you're doing improv work, if you don't have an actual, perfect 1/4 inch seam, it doesn't really matter that much because they're going to come out, they're not supposed to look perfect, right? So they come out, as you can see here, all different sizes, different angles, as far as the curvature on those improv circles. And you can see here she's got a project where she's used them. So there's lots of different blocks you can make in here. And again, with her information that she has, the text and the photos, really easy to make them. Curved strips, really interesting as well. And when you're making these, you don't have to have them all one color. You can see some are here and some have several different pieces in the fabric. So that's interesting as well. Inset strips I should say, is another one. So there's lots of different blocks you can make. There's more than this, of course, but I like the fact that she actually has these different blocks, shows you how to make them, and then you can go off and actually start on your own to put your own project together, okay? The other thing I like about her book is that she actually shows you different ways to quilt it. So these are more modern looking quilt projects, and you can use your walking foot and just do, straight or curved lines across it, but you can also do free motion quilting, and she gives you different examples of fairly simple designs that you can use on these projects. Because really, with all the fabric going on and the different movement of those different blocks, your quilting is just to add texture, okay? It's not really to see the quilting so much. You may see some more of it in some of the negative space, but keeping it simple is probably the way to go for these types of projects. So again, lots of different ideas and those photos to show you where she's actually used those. Now, she also talks about whether you want to bind them or not, whether you want to use a pillowcase method, which is something I use a lot in my quilts. Maybe you want to face them. Lots of information at the back about that, finishing it off. So if you are stepping into improvisational quilting, I really like this book by Cindy Grisdela because the blocks are simple to make and she explains, in great detail how to make them. So it's not going to be difficult for you to do that at all. And then you're kind of off to do them on yourself, on your own, I should say, putting them up on the design wall, because everybody's quilts, when they're making, even if you're making those angled stripes or those improv circle blocks, everybody's blocks are going to look different and everybody's quilts are going to look really different from one another. So if you're interested in improvisational quilting, I would recommend you take a look at Artful Improv by Cindy Grisdela. If you're interested in getting your own copy, check the description below because I have a link and you can get more details on the book there. Thanks so much for watching. Please give the video a thumbs up and be sure to share it with your quilting friends. And remember to subscribe and hit the bell so you'll be notified the next time I release a new video. And before you go, check out these other videos I've included just for you. For more helpful quilting information, please go to my website at www.chatterboxquilts.com.